We are live on the Google Hangout, and let's start this episode. So, welcome to episode 2 of the Geek Pull podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Matlock,
And I'm Dax Matlock.
and we're here to talk about comic book news, comic book movies, comic book toys, and other geeky related pop culture things going on in the world. So, first up, I just want to tackle a couple news items before we talk about some potential spoilers on some things. We're going to be talking about The Killing Joke a little later, and then we might be talking about Star Wars Episode VIII, some spoilers a little later. So we'll save the spoilers to the end. That way, if you don't want to listen anymore, you can jump off. Um, so, first up, there sounds like things are moving forward on a Krypton TV series for the Sci-Fi Channel. Have you heard about that?
I haven't heard about that.
So this is something David Goyer has been writing, and it's going to take place on Krypton. So it's a prequel, Superman prequel, and but it centers around Superman's grandfather and the House of L,
Oh,
and
that's
some of
cool.
the stuff they go through. So, yeah, it's supposed to be Sci-Fi is going to supposedly has ordered a pilot for it.
Yeah, it looks like it's supposed to be similar to like Gotham, the way it's more way backstory kind of a
Yeah.
thing.
So, because it's his grandfather, I don't know if you skip General Zod and all that too. You could have essence of Brainiac within the stories, but otherwise, it's probably a bunch of new characters.
That's pretty cool.
So, yeah, somebody, a comment that I read, someone was asking if this is really necessary, especially going from how amazing Snyder made it look in the cinema, then going to sci-fi. Talking about the Krypton scene in Man of Steel, that was done really well. So it's like, can they do something close to that for television on sci-fi? I've never watched a sci-fi original show, so I can't really say, but
I feel like it did like as a kid. Can't remember what I would have watched, but I remember watching stuff on there. Generally, they have good stuff, so
yeah.
it'll be interesting. They have some pretty big sci-fi hits there, so
Yeah. And I think unlike Gotham, where you actually have Batman as a character, because Superman wouldn't actually be a character at all in this.
no.
So it's kind of interesting because you kind of get to explore the world of Krypton without having to worry about any Superman storyline stuff or teasers or anything like that, and just have it be a straight up original story.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of exciting because, I mean, Krypton is not that much really out there about it other than it's destroyed. Literally not much out there. So it'll be kind of cool to see them, especially because Krypton can be such a cool, beautiful place. It'll be interesting to see how it all is played out in a TV setting. Could be fun.
And it makes sense that they are doing his grandfather instead of just his father, because you kind of know the conclusion of his father's story.
Yeah.
So they're taking it back an additional generation. You get a new story out of that, new characters. So we don't really know what happens leading up to through that time period. So it's not like, oh, we know the outcome already. Krypton blows up. Spoiler alert. But sorry, I was going to save the spoilers for the end. But yeah.
Yeah, you should know that Krypton doesn't exist.
Right. So what got me excited about it is I don't know if you've seen the show Peaky Blinders on Netflix.
No, but I've been meaning to watch that.
It is a cool show. And the director of that, his name's, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, Cole McCarthy. He's rumored to direct the pilot episode for Krypton. So yeah, he's done some cool work on that Peaky Blinders show. So
Yeah, I've seen the trailer for Peaky Blinders. It looks great. So,
it's a really cool show. Very bloody, lots of
oh,
violence, but um,
how do you do with the blood?
it's I think it's just so intense. I get squeamish sometimes with it because it's not like over the top. It's realistic. So yeah, there's parts of it that get me squeamish, but I'm okay.
You haven't fainted yet?
No, the story on it's good enough to keep me watching. So
That's good. That's good.
I do cringe at some parts, but it's mostly beating guys up. So
That's good.
yeah, definitely check it out if you haven't watched it yet.
Yeah,
So,
I'll be one of my summer projects.
yeah. Other news is Robert Downey Jr. has officially signed on for the new Spider-Man Homecoming movie that's going to be coming out from Sony.
That's cool.
2017, I think. So yeah, he's in the movie. So
that's really exciting because he was trying to get out of the universe as an actor.
Yeah, so he seems to be sticking around, and I don't know that he's going to be going anywhere anytime soon. In fact, that leads me to another thing I want to talk about. Jon Favreau, the original director of Iron Man 1, was talking about the idea of recasting Robert Downey Jr. or recasting the Tony Stark role in the Marvel universe. He was basically saying, I don't really know how you do that. Obviously, anything can be done, but that'd be very hard to recast.
Like within the already existing.
Yeah, so like the next after Avenger, because I think Robert Downey Jr. is slated to be in the Avengers Affinity War movie, or yeah. So that's 2 more movies after Civil War, now plus Spider-Man. But after that, we don't know what he's going to be in. So if he was in, like, say, they made Iron Man 4, and they decided to recast him, get Tom Cruise to play Tony Stark or something. Yeah,
I would throw up. That would be Marvel's end right there.
Recasting him or Tom Cruise?
Both. Yeah, but especially the Tom Cruise part. Yeah, if Tom Cruise was Tony Stark, everyone would just be so upset, I think.
Yeah, there's no reason to do Tom Cruise, but yeah, I don't know how you recast and keep the universe the same.
It doesn't make sense. Like at that point, you should just make a new Iron Man movie.
But then you have to reboot the whole Marvel universe, right?
So then they should just not worry about it. I think everyone's fine with the way the Iron Man.
So would you not make any more Iron Man movies and just have Robert Downey Jr. play smaller parts in other people's movies as Iron Man, or would you just not have Iron Man show up anymore?
That's a good question. I mean, I guess it really just kind of all depends on what Robert Downey Jr. wants. Because it sounds like he himself doesn't really care to make another Iron Man movie. I don't think there needs to be another just Iron Man movie. Right. I think having him just playing smaller parts along the rest of the universe, showing up in the big fights and stuff like that, I think that's really all.
Being in the Avengers movies.
Yeah, I mean, as long as he's there, I don't think anybody's really. I mean, everyone would love to see it, I think, but at the same time, I don't think it's realistic, just because of the way they ended Iron Man 3.
Right. Yeah, I'd say if they can, and he seems to be open to the idea since he joined Spider-Man, to pay him the money and keep him around, but don't bring a new Iron Man in. I've heard some people say, like, well, he could train a new Iron Man or something like that and still be around, but I just don't know if that kind of thing works.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it seems like the Marvel Universe is probably coming to an end fairly soon, or at least I think it should. Because I think eventually it gets to a point where there are too many movies, and just the longer they go, like it just like progressively gets worse. Because you understanding?
Yeah, I mean I don't know that it's coming to an end. They'll probably have to weed some characters out of the
Yeah.
mix because it's getting very character heavy. And maybe that's where Infinity War, maybe we'll lose some characters going forward, but there's a lot more characters that could still be introduced. Not necessarily mainstream characters, but I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy is just getting going, really.
Yeah, that's true.
Of course, that's a totally different space. You have the whole Doctor Strange universe, the supernatural thing that's just going to get going. So that's a whole nother corner of the Marvel universe. So I don't know that's going to be ending, but they are going to have to weed out some characters. Like, is Thor necessary anymore?
Nope.
Captain America, what's going to happen out of Civil War? I don't know. Is he necessary anymore? Iron Man, is he just is he the new Nick Cage role who's heading up Shield? Does he replace what's his face? Name blank. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, they just have to weed out some characters because otherwise their budgets are going to be too big. So
yeah. Did you mean Nick Cage or Nick Fury?
Nick Fury is what I meant. Luke Cage, Nick Fury.
Yeah, Nick Cage is
no one can replace Nicolas Cage.
Nobody can Nobody should replace Nicolas Cage.
No. I'd like to see him in a comic book movie.
Ghost Rider.
Oh yeah, I already saw him in the comic. Darn it. I'd like to see him in another comic book movie.
Superman.
Maybe not a superhero, but somebody.
Revive the Tim Burton Superman.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That would have been cool. Maybe.
Probably not.
Yeah. Speaking of interesting actors joining superhero movies, William Dafoe was announced that he joined the Justice League movie.
Second Spider-Man actor to join.
Right. Yeah, people are making fun of that. Like, they're picking off all of Spider-Man's actors.
Yeah.
So
it'll be interesting to see which role he plays. He played the Green Goblin in the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, lots of people I guess they've said that he's playing a good character.
Yeah, it's reported that he's going to be good.
Even though they have said that, there's a lot of speculation that he's actually playing a villain because he looks like a villain.
I mean, he's just one of those guys that plays bad guys.
Right.
So
he could be playing a good guy that turns bad, and they're just trying to keep us from learning about it or something.
That'd be pretty neat.
But yeah, I've heard speculation like, oh, he'd make a good Riddler.
I was just thinking that.
So, but he's kind of old.
Yeah.
But the Riddler could be older, so that's not a bad thing.
I mean, Batman's old, so.
Yeah, it's true. So, yeah, so that's all the news I've got for this week. Did you have anything that you came across that you thought was interesting?
There was something, but I don't think it was very big because I've seemed to have forgotten about it.
There's a lot of Civil War talk going on right now.
Yeah.
A lot of people have already seen the movie. We still got so much time to go yet. I've been trying to avoid reading much about it.
Oh, speaking of Civil War, actually. So I did read. Last week we talked about it'll be interesting to see how they play Black Panther in. So I read an article about it, actually, that said he has a lot of screen time because originally Spider-Man was not going to be able to be in the movie. And so they didn't have anything. So they're like, well, we can just boost Black Panther as a more main character. So he's actually got a lot more screen time than we think he does. And they adapted the story to not have Spider-Man in it, but then they got Spider-Man. So then they had to add Spider-Man in, but they had already done so much with Black Panther that they're like, well, let's just let him keep having because apparently he plays a really important role into the story now. So we're going to see a lot of Black Panther.
That's good. I mean, they kind of had to give him a lot of screen time because they're introducing him as a new character.
Yeah.
Unlike Spider-Man, where people know who Spider-Man is, there's probably a lot of people who don't know anything about Black Panther.
No.
Don't know much about.
I barely know anything about him.
Um,
But I did see that, like, because they were just going to not have him, like, they were going to have his character there, but not have him in the suit as much. But he's going to be suited up a lot more in the movie, which is cool because he has a cool suit.
Yeah.
So.
He's kind of like Batman Beyond.
Yeah.
The full face mask, Batman looking mask, except he's a panther, not a bat.
That's so true. Oh, man. Batman Beyond. What a show.
I'd like to see him make a Batman Beyond movie.
Oh, that would get everyone in my generation excited, because that was like, that's my age of Batman TV shows, was Batman Beyond, because those were all coming out when I was a little kid. So that'd be super awesome. I'd be down for that. Yeah. Especially because they've been doing the Batman Beyond comics.
I mean, he seems to be continuing on through the Rebirth line, so he's obviously got a strong following. So
I've been wanting to pick those up just because I think Batman Beyond, it's such a cool, everything that goes on in that is very interesting.
Yeah, I never got much into Batman Beyond. I like the concept, but I've watched some of the cartoons. I have read a couple of comics of the Batman. I have a couple of trades, Batman Beyond. But yeah, I just like the Batman. I like the older Bruce Wayne in the stories. That's probably my favorite part of Batman Beyond. But I'm not into the new Batman Terry or whatever his name is.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But are you reading anything right now that's interesting? Anything new since we talked last week?
I haven't read anything this week. I've been meaning to read one of my suite mate. He got the Injustice Year One trade paperback.
Yep.
Which he said it was really, really good. Kind of follows like the story of the video game Injustice, Gods Among Us, and but it goes into more depth, and it's a really great story where Superman is evil and all this kind of stuff. So I've been meaning to pick that up, but it's been a busy week. Finals are coming up, so it's been a little slow.
Yeah. I read, because after we talked last week, we talked about The Killing Joke. I reread that last weekend, which we'll talk about more later.
Yep.
We come to our spoiler section. I read that. I just finished reading something called Paper Girls. I had been buying the issues for that. That was written by Brian K. Vaughan. And he has put together kind of a very interesting story. So it's about these 4 girls, and they're paper girls. So like paper boys, but they're paper girls. They deliver papers, and it takes place in the 80s, because no one delivers papers now.
Correct.
But it was a really trippy read. They did issues 1 through 5, and so I bought all those and I read them, and then they took a little hiatus, and then they're going to start up with issue 6 in June, but they already have the trade paperback out for volume 1, which is 1 through 5, which leaves you at a pretty good cliffhanger. But if you like 80s themed stories, plus time travel, is really kind of a cool story. So
I might have to check that out.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where this thing goes, because they really did leave it like on this kind of a what? I mean, every issue, when I get to the last page, I'm like, what just happened there? Because I wasn't expecting any of it at any moment. So, but But yeah, it's fun seeing the 80s style stuff. The artwork is really cool. So yeah, that's what I've been reading. And I just started last night. I had the trade paperback for Batman, um, Dark City, 0 Year.
Okay. How's that?
So far so good.
That's good. I've been watching Batman the Animated Series.
Oh yeah.
And that is so good. Last night I watched a two-part episodes of Clayface and his origin story, which was really cool. Because he's a character that is actually really awesome. Pretty neat. So, and then the other night I watched one that had Mr. Freeze in it, and it's a really great take on Mr. Freeze. It's very just like cold and serious.
The Mr. Freeze of the Batman the Animated Series is like the best Mr. Freeze.
Oh, it's awesome. He's just like, and now I'll not. Like his voice is just so like, it's so terrifying.
Right. And you feel for him too. Like,
yeah, you feel sad.
His tragedy of his wife is like, and that comes through that cartoon is like great, I think.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of, like, to me, this might be one of the greatest cartoon series I think I've ever seen TV wise, because it's like, it's just written really well, because it doesn't feel like you're watching a cartoon show made for kids. Like, because I've been watching Young Justice every now and then too, and that one, like, I like it, but at the same time I feel like I'm watching something like geared towards like upper elementary, middle school kids, and so it's like it's been kind of hard for me to get into that. But the animated series it's all just like it's still dark. It's Batman, and so and the character development on everyone is really great. The Catwoman episodes were great, and yeah, so I've been really pleased with the series. It's been pretty cool.
Yeah, I'd love to rewatch those because I originally watched them when I was in high school. So I've seen a couple of episodes because they'll include some episodes sometimes on some of the DC animated DVDs discs as bonus content. But yeah, I haven't watched the series as a whole since it originally aired.
Yeah, I've been burning through them in my free time.
Yeah, I just remember them being really great. I can vividly remember the stories. Like when you talked about Clayface, I'm picturing that episode right now.
Yeah, I mean,
good stuff.
And they had an episode with the Gray Ghost, which was really cool because you have like kind of Batman's like inspiration in there, and it's just kind of like a sweet, heartfelt episode. And yeah, I mean, like the entire series, there's like only one or two like bad episodes per season, so that's been fun watching that. And then also, there's not comic book related, but geek related. There's a show called The Social Network on HBO. Or no, not The Social Network, Silicon Valley.
Oh.
Sorry, might be Silicon Valley, but it's all about like just a startup company. They're getting ready to start season 3, I think on the 24th. But me and my friends have been rewatching those episodes. It is just nerdy as can be because it's like all about coding and stuff. But it's also like not to the point where you're like, oh, this show is so like nerdy it hurts to watch. It's like funny stuff. You don't even have like I don't understand anything about like coding or computers or anything like that. But watching it, it's hilarious. So I'm very
That's what I spend most of my day doing is coding.
Yeah, it's hilarious, and it's like just a big satire on the big major tech companies in Silicon Valley, and it's hilarious. There's not a bad moment. It's great.
Have you been keeping up to date with Flash or anything like that?
No, I have been really bad on keeping up to date with Flash, Arrow, Gotham. Is Legends of Tomorrow on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was tracking with the Flash and Arrow up until their winter hiatus.
Yeah.
And then when they came back, I don't have cable, so I watch it on the website,
Yeah.
CW website. Problem is, I waited too long to start watching them, and so I lost. They only keep like 5 episodes on at a time.
Yeah, that was my
So
problem.
I lost the first episode coming back. So then I'm kind of like, do I just wait now at this point, or do I just skip an episode and start watching again, or do I just wait till it comes on Netflix? So at
Yeah.
this point, I've waited till it comes on Netflix. But Kevin Smith has directed an episode of Flash. I'd really like to watch it, and I really wanted to watch the Flash Supergirl crossover, but I don't want to just jump into the middle of the story. So I think I'm going to wait till.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you where I don't, not only do I not have cable, but I don't have a TV. So it's been killing me, and I was keeping up with it because I would watch the episodes like at midnight because they'd post them on the website at midnight. And so last semester I was keeping up with it pretty well up until around like Thanksgiving. And then I kind of lost track. And then it got to the point where the episodes I needed were no longer on their website. And I just didn't really remember the entire season, and they're 45 minutes long. So it was a big time commitment, which is kind of funny because with the animated series, they're 20 minutes, but I'll watch like 4 of them back to back to back. But they're 20 minutes, so you have a little bit more. Yeah, you feel like you have more control.
Yeah, you feel like you can stop after 20 minutes.
Yeah, like.
But you don't. But you feel like you can.
Yeah. Like if I watch an episode of The Flash, like I know I have to be committed for about an hour.
Right.
And so I feel bad, but
yeah,
for not keeping up.
I feel bad too. Like I feel like I should be supporting these shows because I love that they're making these shows.
And they're really good.
But there's like so many of them.
There's so many.
Which is awesome, but it's like I can't. It's like it starts to get like comic books, even the movies,
where
it's like there are so many comic books you can't buy them all. You got to start picking and choosing. And I feel that's where I am with some of the TV show stuff now. Like I feel like okay, there's some great stuff out there. I was very supportive of Arrow, even though some of the stories kind of got dragging.
Oh my gosh.
This season, though, I'm kind of like, you know what? I just don't care about Arrow anymore. I'd rather be spending my time watching these other shows. So I feel like that one's kind of on the chopping block for me, unless they bring in like some cool, iconic villain next year, maybe. But
yeah, Arrow, I didn't feel as bad not keeping up with it. I was mainly keeping up because they were starting to like relate some stuff between the Flash and Arrow, and there'd be references in all the episodes.
Right.
To what happened the night before.
Right. Yeah. Some of that crossover stuff, which is what they do in the comic books too, to make you start reading other comic books you really don't want to read. Is like,
yeah. And so I was only really keeping up with Arrow because I hated it so much until I think are they on season like this year's at season 4?
This is season 4. Yes.
Yeah. I liked season 3 a lot of it when I was binging that on Netflix. But it's been hard keeping up with for me. It's not the biggest motivation. And then I liked Gotham, even though it was kind of bad, but I still kind of liked it because it was fun seeing.
Yeah, to me, it was a really fun show. You can't like go, how are these villains being created when there's no Batman yet or anything like that. You just kind of got to look at like, this is just an Elseworld story. This is just another tale, a what if scenario kind of a thing. So
yeah, it's just kind of fun, and having all the different characters and their origins kind of with the villains and stuff. It's fun seeing that happen.
I haven't watched any episode from this season yet.
Yeah, I think I watched the first episode and that's been it.
Yeah.
Which makes me sad because I was looking at comic book related news and something about the TV show came up and I saw something and I was like, oh, that's really cool. I wish I was
right
caught up so I could and saw some stills from an episode, and I was like, oh, I've missed so much. Just seeing that, but you know, it's fine.
Yeah, it sounds like that show's getting better.
Mm-hmm.
So, the only thing I didn't like about the show is the whole Fish Mooney character.
Okay.
She was a little too much for me, but
she was. Yeah.
I kind of drugged that one out a little bit for me, but
out of all the characters I could have dragged on, like,
yeah,
she was just not one that like really mattered all that much to me.
Right. So, and I kind of knew that she was going to be like bumped off at the end of the first season. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen the first season already.
Mm-hmm.
So, speaking of spoilers, let's get down to some spoilers.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay. So I got two things we got to talk about: Killing Joke and Star Wars Episode VIII spoilers. What do you want to tackle first?
Let's go with Killing Joke. Because I'm still not sure if I want to talk about Star Wars or not yet.
Yeah, so we got a pretty big rumor / spoiler about the plot of Star Wars Episode VIII that's out there. So we may talk about it, we may not talk about it.
All depends.
But it's pretty big. So right now we'll talk about The Killing Joke. If you haven't read The Killing Joke, you need to read The Killing Joke. I read it again this past weekend. That's a great story.
It's so good.
The focus on the Joker and his story, his backstory, or what we think is his backstory. That's a well written piece.
What I thought was interesting is within it, they had references to him changing his backstory.
Right.
Which I thought was cool because that made me think about Heath Ledger's take on the Joker and how every time he talked about his scars, it was a different story. So I was like, I wonder if there was like a connection between that. And there had to be because
even with the Killing Joke story, you totally don't know the Joker's backstory.
Yeah. I mean, you get a pretty good concept of it.
It was the Red Hood story.
Yeah, which I always forget that he came, like, even in the, like, when he was, like, first introduced, he still came out of being the Red Hood, which I always forget about, but I think that's so cool, because I think Red Hood is such a cool concept of a character.
Yeah. Yeah, and see, okay, you haven't read the Scott Snyder Batman yet. The 0 year that they did, it's basically the reboot of Batman. And they go through the Red Hood story again, which they do. You know, there's a bunch of people that wear the Red Hood.
Yeah.
At any one point in time, and of course, the Joker being the one that wears it when he gets tossed into the acid.
Did you ever see the Red Hood episode of Gotham?
Yes, I did.
I think that might have been one of my favorite episodes out of the ones I've seen.
Yeah, I think that was inspired by. I think that one had a lot of influence from the Scott Snyder story. Batman books. 0 year.
So, how do we want to go about talking about the Killing Joke? Do we want to do kind of a walkthrough of the story? Or do we just want to talk thoughts on it? So I'm assuming everyone tuned in at this point is familiar.
Yeah, and the reason we're even talking about the Killing Joke is because they're coming out with a Killing Joke
movie
film. I don't know when it is actually released. I know they're premiering it at San Diego Comic-Con in July, but
I mean, it's supposed to come out. I thought that was in June.
Comic-Con?
Yeah.
Maybe so.
Because I think they come out. I think it might come out at the same time.
Okay.
As when they premiere it.
Okay.
From what I understand.
So The Killing Joke was written by Alan Moore, who, if you've read any of Alan Moore's other stuff, he's pretty
One of the best story writers.
Yeah, and he's pretty adult graphic with his stories that he tells.
Watchmen was one of his. That was really good, really graphic.
Yep.
I've been wanting to read Swamp Thing that he wrote.
Yep.
Because someone told me I was at Barnes and Noble in the comic book session, and I was talking about Alan Moore, and this dude was like, "Have you read Swamp Thing? That's his best story ever written." And I was like, "I have not. I'll check it out." So
He wrote The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which is really good. If you've seen the movie, it's not anything like that, but it's very graphic. So Killing Joke is very graphic too. So yeah, how do you want to do this?
we can do like a quick walkthrough of the story.
Yeah,
I think just in case anyone wants to get caught up. So I have it here. So it starts with Batman going into Arkham Asylum. Everyone's just kind of very hesitant for him just storming into the building, and then he sits down with the Joker and he starts talking to him, kind of saying, "Hey, we're coming to like the end of the road. Like, we can either make a decision now to be friends and I can help you, or we're just going to end up killing each other. Either you'll kill me or I'll kill you," which is interesting hearing Batman say that he could kill the Joker. Because he's like, it's a game, it's been a charade that's just been going on and on and on.
Yeah, it's like Batman wants to put a stop to this, but he's trying to do it in a diplomatic way. And the fact that he even thinks he can be diplomatic with the Joker is kind of interesting.
Yeah, and so it's very cool, but then it turns out that it's not the Joker that he's talking to. The Joker has escaped, and it's someone painted to look like the Joker. And so Batman's just kind of pissed for a little bit. And then it cuts to the Joker, and he's buying a carnival, a rundown carnival, which is pretty cool, considering you have like Joker's like Funland and things like that. So I thought that was kind of fun having that a little bit.
Reading that the whole time, we're thinking, why is somebody, and the guy who's looking to sell him the carnival seems like a pretty nice person and sounds like an upstanding citizen. Why on earth would you be doing business with a guy who looks like a clown?
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's actually a good point. I didn't even like really think about like, why is this guy selling to the Joker? Like, because the guy,
why does he think that's going to go well at all? Surely he's got to have some knowledge of who this guy is, the Joker.
Yeah, I mean, the Joker at this point, because I think within this story, like, it's been rumored to say that it's kind of like this, like, supposed like last Batman tale, which we can get into more at the end of the walkthrough. But so it seems like the Joker should have been known. Maybe this guy was just desperate to get this thing off his hands. The Joker was offering a lot of money.
Yeah, I guess if you're trying to sell something that's was clearly kind of run down, probably interested in anybody who's about to give you some money to sell something. So that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, because none of the rides work. Everything's kind of dangerous. It's a very rundown little circus area. So, so that's why the Joker's buying it. Right. Essentially, is because it is so an awful place. And then right after, it's talking about why money isn't really a problem for the Joker. And then it cuts into a flashback scene of him and his pregnant wife, and but he's not the Joker. He's just a man. We don't know his name.
And we know he's a comedian at this point in time.
And we know he's a comedian. So it starts out with him saying that he was auditioning for a comedy act and he didn't get the job because he was nervous and messed up the punchline.
Right.
which, as we know, the Joker never misses a punchline. So kind of a transformative thing, just showing at the state of where is in life. And this section of the comic book is really beautiful. Brian Boland did the artwork in this, and it's all black and white, but there's just little things of red, orange, and yellow that are highlighted in all of these flashback sequences, and they're just very beautiful to look at. And then his wife is like, "Oh, don't worry, like, I still love you," like, all this stuff. So very reassuring, like, still supportive of him, even though he's not able to provide for their future family. Then it flashes back to him at the carnival, and the dude who's selling it is riding on a little pink coin-operated elephant. Then the Joker is like, "Oh, let's see." He's like, "Well, you've really sold me on this place. However, I already bought all the deeds, and I own it now." And then he kills the guy. It's kind of cool because you don't see the dude's face for a while.
Right, he didn't buy the deeds. He
just
had his associates get the signatures necessary from his partner to get it done,
to sign it over. So he didn't even have to spend any money on this. He just obtained this carnival, which is pretty neat. But we don't see the dude's face after he says this for a while, and then it just cuts to a close-up, and his face is white, and he's got red lips, and there's blood dripping down his chin.
He's got the Joker grin on his face, right?
Yeah. Wide-eyed and massive. So it's just scary.
Just that alone, that scene alone, is enough to make the animated movie rated R, right?
I would think so.
Because that's.
I mean, like, I've been like these were panels that I looked at for a really long time, trying to figure out how the Joker killed him, because it's not like super clear.
Didn't he shake his hand with a?
It looks like a thumbtack on.
With a little buzzer with a pin in it.
Yeah. So maybe that had some toxin in it. That would have killed him.
Yeah. There's a little flower. I don't know. So the dude just dies, and that's enough to make you realize that we're dealing with a different type of Joker than we normally see. Very violent, and that's just the beginning of the story. Right.
Cuts to Batman holding a Joker card. You see a really cool picture of the Bat family in the deluxe version. Even includes Batmite, which is kind of stupid to me, but whatever you want to do, Brian Boland. And then he starts looking up what.
You kind of got to remember when this was written too, though. So this was back in the late '80s.
Yeah, but Batmite was in like the '60s, right?
I don't know when he originally came out, but
because he was in the New Adventures of Batman and Robin, or of Batman, which was a really, really old, might have been early '70s, possibly, but yeah, it's pretty rough series to get through. It's just a one season kind of a thing, but anyways. And then you have Batman looking up the Joker, is unknown. He goes through this all, and Alfred's like, how can two people hate so much without knowing each other? Which is kind of interesting, because you realize that Batman and the Joker still don't really know who each other are. It's kind of interesting.
They're just sworn enemies.
Yeah. And that adds an interesting layer to Batman trying to want to be friends with him, because, I mean, after so long, it's kind of driving him a little crazy that he has no concept. Nobody knows who this guy is, where he came from, and all this kind of stuff. So then after this conversation with Alfred, it cuts to Jim Gordon and his daughter, and she's in an awesome yellow shirt. She looks great. Very like Batgirl-esque, which is pretty cool. And they're just talking. He's looking at old pictures of in a scrapbook that he has about Batman and the Joker. He's just kind of working on getting that. Then a knock comes on the door, and Barbara answers it, and it's the Joker, dressed like a tourist, which is a really cool frame. Him in the door, he's standing with a gun in his hand pointed at her, and he shoots her in the stomach, which is kind of like the really big, one of the biggest issues in this thing was how horrid this shot is. She falls back, crashes into a coffee table. Jim Gordon's freaking out. Joker's just pouring himself a drink. Then they knock out Jim Gordon, and his associates take him out. And then there's a scene where the Joker is bending down with his camera, grabs Barbara's shirt, and then in the next one it's just a shot of his face, and you see him pulling the shirt up, and then it cuts to another flashback of him. He's in a bar, and he's associating with people who are part of the Red Hood organization, and they're planning a heist to break into a chemical company and do some stuff. It's next to the playing card company that he used to work at.
Right, and it's clear these guys are using this.
Oh, very evident that they're using him. They're making him dress up like the Red Hood, which comes into play later, just because he needs to seem like the leader since he knows how to get in. But they're definitely using him.
And this guy's just desperate for money because he's about to have a baby. He doesn't have a job. Very focused
on not getting caught,
right.
Or seen, which is why they're like, "Oh yeah, wear the Red Hood," because then you won't get seen. And the Red Hood is pretty neat, but they haven't. Yeah, they show him the Red Hood in this moment, and it's just this awesome red dome that like sits above his head. Pretty cool. Pretty cool looking, and it's in black and white, but the red helmet is beautifully colored in. We then flash out of that into the hospital where Batman is standing with Barbara, and it's just kind of intense. She's like passed out. She wakes up and is just crying and says, "No, it's not okay. He's taking it to the limit this time." And she says, "You didn't see his eyes." So just showing something happened once it cut into this flashback between the Joker and Barbara. We don't know what it is, but we know that Joker has taken steps that are too far. Then this is where things really start to get weird. It cuts back to the circus, or the carnival, and you have these three, I think they're like the three demons from hell. I don't know. They're kind of Brian Boland's like imagination of some henchmen for the Joker, but they're like three creepy looking baby people, and they're beating up Jim and taking his shirt off. They're putting a collar around him attached to a pole, and he's just naked, which
is very humiliating for somebody in Jim Gordon's position. I feel like, he's just stripped of everything, as almost his humanity, because of these things that are pushing him, poking him around, are just weird looking.
Terrifying. Kind of haunt me a little bit. Don't know if I'll ever be able to look at toddlers the same, but thinking they might beat me up and strip me down and carry me to the Joker. So we'll see. But so then it's just kind of, then they have him attached to this collar and pole. They're just dragging him essentially. He's naked and he's very ashamed, and you can tell by the way he's drawn. He's hunched over. He's just very embarrassed to be in the position that he's in right now. Then you see a bunch of circus freaks, and then shoots up to the Joker and the throne, and he says, "You're going mad." And so this cuts into a scene where we're getting to a point where the Joker is just trying to break Jim Gordon and make him go insane. which we'll get back to in a little bit. So he puts him aboard this ride, and he's just, it looks like it's kind of like a dark ride kind of a thing. And the last thing you see is a painted face of the Joker before the doors close.
Carnival haunted house ride.
Yeah, so very, very interesting for the Joker to be doing this. We'll get back to what's in the ride after we take a look at this next flashback scene, which is back in the bar. The day before they're making the attack at night with the Joker in this chemical company. And as they're all sitting there talking about the plans, the police come in and they're like, "Can we talk to you for a moment?" And everyone's like kind of acting shady, like, "Oh, we're not here, like, don't, like, we're not up to anything bad." And the police officer says that his wife died.
Which then you think, okay, this guy doesn't have to do this crime anymore because he's got no more responsibility. He's not responsible for his wife or a child anymore. And not only did his wife die,
the baby died with the wife.
Died too. So, which they didn't say that, but it's implied because.
Yeah, because they didn't say anything about it. But then you just see the Joker, like, just slump before he's the Joker. But he's just slumping in front of the cops, and he's like, "What happened?" And then he goes back into the bar, and he's like, "Guys, I'm sorry, I have nothing to live for. Like, this is not necessarily like, oh no, it's too late to back out, man. Like, you gotta follow through." And they just walk out, and he just starts crying at the bar, which is a very humiliating experience, I would imagine. And then we flash back to the carnival with Jim Gordon riding the ride with these little baby demon things surrounding him, prying him back and making sure his eyes are open. And along the ride, you have videos and pictures of the Joker blown up saying, "You must be going crazy and you're confused right now and you're scared in the situation." But he says, "I've got something that'll make you smile." And he's like singing this song, just kind of weird words about kind of going crazy. Then it flashes to all these pictures of Barbara just naked on the ground. They don't show anything explicitly in the comic book, but she's naked and she's got blood all over her and she just looks tormented. And as a father, seeing your daughter like this is, one, embarrassing to see your adult daughter naked, because that's just a weird situation. And then two, seeing her being abused like this, where she's just covered in blood.
And helpless.
And helpless.
And he couldn't stop it.
Yeah, because he had got knocked out. And
he doesn't know the outcome of her situation either.
Yeah, because this is the first he's hearing of what happens after.
Right. He doesn't know she's alive in a hospital somewhere.
Yeah. In these pictures, it looks like she's probably dead at the end.
Yeah, I'm very curious how they're going to expand upon all these scenes for the animated film.
I'm kind of nervous to watch it just because I feel like it's going to make me feel very uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable. I mean, reading the comic book, seeing Jim Gordon being dragged around naked with a collar on, that's uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, I was just sitting, like, when I was reading it, I was in the middle of the hallway, and I just felt kind of, like, dirty for reading it. I was like, this is a really, like, just dark, dirty story.
Right. It's not one of those things you want to be reading or watching on an airplane.
No. This is going to be one of those ones I watch, like, maybe with a friend or two, because we'll all probably want to watch it, and then doors locked. No talking allowed.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. Maybe I'll watch it with my dad. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But
well, if it comes out in the summer and you're around, we got to watch it together.
Okay, yeah, we can watch it together and then talk about it.
Yes.
All right, so that sounds good, like a plan. So then after this ride, it closes to Batman trying to find the Joker, and he's having no success, and he's asking the Penguin, which is kind of cool. Throughout all of Batman going through prison and stuff, you see like random bits of other villains, which is just kind of fun to see. Makes it a little bit enjoyable,
right.
For how dark of a story this is. And then you have some cops and a detective, probably Bullock, flashing the bat signal, and Batman flies down. They hand him a card which has an invitation to the carnival and a picture of the Joker that says "with compliments." So the Joker has personally invited him to his carnival.
Right.
Batman just looks at it, hops off a building, makes his way over to the carnival, flashes back to the carnival where Jim has just gotten off the ride. He's head down crying. He gets kicked out of the bumper car and he's just on the ground, like hunched over, ashamed, upset. And the Joker is like just saying all these things, trying to drive him crazy. It's just intense.
Yeah. So what do you think Joker's motivation is here? Like to just to turn somebody like Jim Gordon, who is supposed to be a good man, into a bad person?
Bring this conversation up later, because there's some other things that come into play that I think influence his motive.
All right. Continue on.
All right. Another flashback. Red Hood. It's been put on. He's going in, and the Red Hood and red cape are the only things highlighted in these black and white shots, and blood splatters because the cops came. So shocker, and they start shooting the two dudes who are trying to use the Joker, and they're being chased. And then it's really cool because they have Batman, but they have him in his first like way back in the original Red Hood like story. They have that outfit on Batman, which is just so cool because in a flashback that makes sense that he's not dressed like he would be today because the suit has adapted over the years.
Right.
So it's just a fun little tidbit of history in this. And then Batman starts chasing down Red Hood. He jumps into what looks like waste going out into the water. There's chemicals in it, and it's being dumped out. Classic Gotham City industry warehouse kind of a thing to be dumping chemicals into the water.
Yeah.
Just kind of makes sense. And then the Joker comes out, takes his hood off, looks into a puddle, and sees that he looks different. But we still don't see him. And then it just starts zooming in closer and closer, and we start seeing glimpses of red in his hair, the white skin. And then we get a really cool shot of him with his hands in his hair like this, and the big Joker grin, blood from his eyes and mouth, and just ha 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 written all in the background.
It's a great image.
Great shot. Probably one of my favorite pictures of the Joker.
Yeah.
Just really, I mean, that's an iconic one.
Even the cover with him holding his camera is such a, I mean, the artwork in this is.
I mean, Brian Boland did such an amazing job with this artwork.
Yeah.
Very neat. Get some good stuff. Then, so we have the creation of the Joker in that story, and I don't think there are any more flashbacks involved in the rest. So then it's the carnival. Jim's in a cage, and the circus freaks are kind of taunting him. And then the Joker is just talking about how it'd be crazy for him not to be mad, and he's still trying to break him. I believe he thinks he has broken Jim Gordon.
Right.
And then Batman rolls up in the Batmobile, which is a beautiful, beautiful Batmobile. Great shot, headlights flashing. Really, really cool picture. And then he says, "Hello, I came to talk." And oh, wait, no, it's a flashback to the original conversation where Batman is in Arkham talking to the Joker.
Right.
And so it's just all the quotes of him talking about how perhaps I'll kill you, perhaps you kill me, perhaps now, perhaps later. All these things are flashing as Batman and Joker are just looking at each other.
And you're thinking, okay, one of these guys is going to kill each other.
Yeah, you're thinking
this is the moment.
This is the moment. You're feeling.
What I was talking about.
You start reading a little bit faster. Your heartbeat's rising. You're like, oh gosh, someone's about to die. Like, this is getting crazy. Batman jumps off the Batmobile onto the Joker, knocks him to the ground. The Joker squirts some acid on him, burns through his suit and his arm. Batman, of course, drops an antidote, an antidote on it. Heals up that wound because it's poison. He doesn't want to die. The Joker walks into the House of Fun, and Batman, you see the doors shut on that. It's the Joker face. Lots of Joker faces around this carnival. Very cool how he already adapted it so fast after gaining the rights to it. Then Batman goes to check up on Jim. He says he said he showed me photographs of Barbara. He tried to drive me mad. And Jim says, Batman says, I'll stay here with you until the police arrive. And Jim says, no, you have to go after him. I want him brought in, and I want him brought in by the book, which shows that
he did not go crazy.
That he did not go crazy. That he still wants the Joker to show that they're following all the rules, no matter what he's doing. They're not gonna. They can't break each other.
Yeah, and Jim Gordon has, in every person's right mind, and the idea that to take vengeance on the Joker for what he did to his daughter, it's like, yeah, why wouldn't he go and
especially because you hear stories of fathers when things happen to their daughters, they want to beat up whatever guy hurt them.
Right.
And most of the time they will, or they'll have something done to them. Right. And so it's a very cool father story, just showing
shows the integrity of Jim Gordon,
mm-hmm.
and how he just kept his cool, kept his wits about him. Knowing that the Joker was trying to, make him go off his rocker, and
it just makes Jim Gordon such a great character. Just really shows how strong and how he really is just a great commissioner of Gotham. So Batman follows Joker into the House of Fun. There are a bunch of images and mirrors of people going crazy. The floor drops and there's a thing of spikes, but Batman catches the edge before he's all the way in. Classic Batman, always having quick reflexes. He catches that, hops out. Then the Joker just starts, he's in a microphone and he's just talking to him, and he's talking about going crazy and talking about how everyone's kind of a monster, and he's asking why Batman isn't crazy, because he could easily be as crazy as the Joker, and he's trying to draw him in on his side. Batman crashes through a mirror, attacks the Joker, and comments on that he's never thought that Joker's jokes have been funny, which is why he's never laughed.
Right.
And so then Batman throws him through a wall. Awesome Batman moment. They fight. He knocks the pin that was used to kill the other guy on the buzzer. He knocks that off his hand and just kind of holds him down, pins him up. The Joker grabs through his eye holes of his mask and starts pulling the mask down. And Batman's like,
illustration there too.
it's a really cool illustration, and Batman's still like, no, you can't see my identity, like, and shoves him off. And it's cool because the mask is kind of just drooped over his face a little bit. Yeah. It's kind of stretched out, and the Joker comes up, smacks him in the head, knocks him down. At that point, Batman fixes his mask, makes sure it's all nice and orderly. And then the Joker comes at him with a knife. Batman just reaches back, like isn't even looking at him, just reaches back, stops the hand, flips him around, punches him in the stomach. Is going for the face, goes for the face, punches him through another wall, this time made out of brick. And then Joker's just on the ground. He turns around looking crazier than ever with a gun pointed at Batman. And it does a beautiful zoom in on the gun, and then another zoom in on Batman's face, and then another zoom in, and it's the gun, and Outshot shoots a banner that says click, click, click. Very Joker fashion. And he says, it's empty, shoot. And then the Joker just kind of breaks down because he thought he was actually just about to kill the Batman. He didn't know the gun was empty, which is kind of a cool feature that the Joker has on his gun. Very neat. And just very fun Joker. And then he's like just talking, and like they're like, Batman's like, we got to do this by the books. Like, you didn't drive Jim insane. You've kind of failed. He's like, this is your last chance. Like, he's like, we needed to have this conversation. This is the last time I'm offering. Like, I want to be your friends. I've gone through some of the stuff that you have. Like, we don't.
So he's trying to have that conversation he started the story with.
Yeah, and goes into a little bit more deeper. But he's like, it's like if you don't take this chance, we're locked onto a suicide course, both of us to the death, which is just very intense because you have Batman talking about how he might kill the Joker. And then they're just talking, and the Joker goes in, and he's like, it's too late for me. Like, I can't do anything. Like, there's nothing you can do to help. Like, I appreciate it. And he says, it's kind of funny. This situation reminds me of a joke. This joke is awesome. I think it's so genius. I'm gonna read out the entire joke because it's really really well done. So here is
the killing joke.
The killing joke. See, there are these two guys in a lunatic asylum. And one night, they decide they don't like living in an asylum anymore. They decide they're going to escape. So, they get up onto the roof, and there, just across a narrow gap, they see the rooftops of the town stretching away in the moonlight, stretching away to freedom. Now, the first guy, he jumps right across with no problem, but his friend daren't make the leap, you see. You see, he's afraid of falling. So then the first guy has an idea. He says, hey, I have my flashlight with me. I'll shine it across the gap between the buildings. You can walk along the beam to join me. To be clear, the beam of light to join me. Okay, that's just funny in itself. Like, you guys are two lunatics in an asylum. Then, but the joke's not over. He says, but the second guy just shakes his head. He says, what do you think I am? Crazy? You turn it off when I was halfway across. Which is hilarious because you should be crazy because you can't walk across a beam of light stretched across the building. But he says, you think I'm crazy? You're going to turn it off, which wouldn't allow him to make it all the way across. It took me a long time to understand this joke. Then I reread it a few more times, and then I started laughing, which is exactly what the Joker does next. Starts laughing, and Batman starts breaking out into laughter too. He starts with a heh, and then it moves into a like, and then it just turns into them laughing and laughing. Batman starting to get kind of a crazy look on his face. Then he reaches out for the Joker, grabs him, and then it zooms in. The Joker's hands are like at his waist, but they're kind of lifted up, which is an interesting shot. And the whole time you have, at the start of this moment, you have lights driving up, and you see these lights in a puddle, and it's slowly zooming in to the headlight shining across the puddle. The laugh is starting to fade out. All of a sudden, you don't see their feet anymore on the ground. You just see a puddle with a strip of light in between the blackness. And then all of a sudden, it's just all black. So the headlight gets shut off. And that's it. That's the story.
Good story.
Great story. So the ending is the biggest concern, because you don't know what happens. You don't know, does Batman kill the Joker? Does the Joker kill Batman? Does anyone die? I've read some interesting theories about. So the joke plays a lot into this artwork, I believe, on purpose, because you have a beam of light dividing two people who are said to both be crazy. Batman's just more in control. So you have this beam of light, and it's just slowly getting closer. The Joker is still laughing maniacally. Last thing we know is that Batman has the Joker, but there's kind of a shot that looks like the Joker's like, hey, like, I'm sorry. Like, he has his hands like kind of like in like a open way, like one might ask for like a hug, like, hey, like, what's up, kind of a thing. But you don't see what happens after that. You just see the feet and the light go off. And so a lot of people think that this light going off is the symbol between the beam of light and the joke turning off. And that means that Batman probably killed the Joker. But they have other people that say that just confirmed that they're separate from each other and that they've decided to go along the suicide course.
Right. Which, I mean, you need to take this story as its own story, individual story, but really it's part of the bigger DC continuity now. So
yeah, because I mean, Alan Moore just wanted it to kind of be a standalone thing, but then DC was like, "Oh no, this is great," and then they turned it into a long-term. They built.
Batgirl gets paralyzed,
turns into the Oracle.
No longer Batgirl,
which is awesome.
Right. So she was Oracle for almost.
Because she got paralyzed.
Years. Yeah.
She got paralyzed from her waist down when she got shot.
Yeah, because she just now in the comic book she's Batgirl again.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had her in the wheelchair for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, the story is so big. There's a lot of really beautiful themes.
Yeah. So this was published in March of 1988. December 1988 is when Batman: A Death in the Family was published.
Yep.
Or started the run in that. So it ran for the next year, and that's where Joker kills Robin.
Yeah. Which is no big spoiler because that's even on the cover art is Batman holding a dead Robin.
Right.
So don't be upset if you didn't know that.
Right.
You find it out.
So yeah, we're beyond spoilers now. So they, that launched, or I'm curious to know what the timing was when they wrote that story, The Killing Joke, to when they started writing A Death in the Family, because those are big. Both of those are really big Joker moments. I feel like.
Very big Joker. They really took on the Joker with those stories and like really just turned him into something that crazier than everyone thought he was. Because everyone knows, I mean, he's always been crazy, kind of psychotic, but this like really turned him into a point where he was truly just the most evil we've ever seen him. I mean, this story is awesome. And it's crazy because it's only 47 pages.
Yeah, this is a one shot. It's a quick read.
Quick read, but one of the biggest stories I think I've ever read, because there's so many themes that go on. Because you have the Joker, you kind of have his origin story in there, and then
Possible origin story.
possible origin story.
There's in the
there's
book
no
he says something like he remembers the past in different ways, or he has multiple memories of the past.
mm-hmm.
So we may not, the story we were being told in the book may not have been
the full.
he may not have had a wife.
Yeah.
That may not have been what led him to don the red hood.
Yeah.
So they still leave it open for interpretation.
Yeah. So it's still very, I mean, it's just one big ambiguous story.
Right.
Because you don't know what he did to Barbara. Just know that he took these pictures. It could have been more involved in that. Knowing the Joker, I mean, like, I don't think he could have, like, raped her or anything, but at the same time, this is the scariest version of the Joker.
Right. And that's what I'm curious about with the animated film is, like, what are they going to, because they're not going to, they may cut it up the way it is in the book. They may have the flashbacks, but usually they kind of interpret things a little different, and there's a lot of gaps to fill in visually.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it they're going to show, and how are they going to do that?
Yeah, this movie is going to be so big.
So
I'm just curious. Did you see the trailer for it?
Yeah, well, I saw they showed a bunch of different of the animation sequences put together. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. And if you haven't seen that, we're gonna put a lot of things we've been talking about in our show notes. We'll put that. I think it's on YouTube. We'll put that clip on our show notes page as well on geekpool.com. And if you haven't read The Killing Joke, we'll put a link to the version of The Killing Joke you should get. I don't know which version you got. The Ultimate Edition.
I just have
cover.
Yeah, it's
got this Tim Burton quote on the cover.
Yep. Deluxe edition.
Yep.
I think that's the best one you can get.
It's got a good introduction to it.
Mm-hmm. Because it's got updated artwork, updated coloring in it by Brian Boland, and so a good letter from Brian about the book itself. Yeah. Where he leaves the ending to where you don't know if anyone dies, who kills who. You just don't know. And that's like the worst part is like the writers have done such a good job on Alan Moore and Brian Boland have done such a great job on keeping it very just left to the fans' minds, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah, I hope they respect that in the movie, and don't try to put a different finish on it.
But part of me just wants to know.
Yeah, because sometimes they'll take a story that's people know and they'll put some little tweaks to it. But I think they know that they got to be really true to the story on this one.
Yeah, I mean, because this is this is probably one of the biggest anticipated animated films that fans have been wanting to see. Right. One of the biggest, most well-known Joker stories. Like, I have friends who aren't into comics and they've read The Killing Joke. So there's a lot riding on this movie. And it's going to be good. They're going to do a good job with it. I'm just excited to hear Mark Hamill as the Joker again.
Yeah, one guy on Amazon, because it's available for pre-sale already on Amazon, and for whatever reason, you can review things before an item's already released. So everyone's giving it 5 stars because they're basing it off the comic book. Then you have some people who are like giving it 1 star just to bring balance to the stars. But one guy, he gave it 2 stars, and he says, "I hope they've changed the ending." He says, "Sorry to rain on your parade, but if this DVD is true to the comic book, it will be a dud. As with much of Alan Moore's writing, it starts out with a bang and grinds to a whimper. Watchmen anyone, unless they change the ending, this will be a disappointment. I don't get that.
I don't get that. I don't get that.
Yeah.
Why would you want to? Because I like not knowing. I mean, like I wish I knew, but at the same time, not knowing makes the stories like really heightened. Like it just makes it so much bigger of a tale.
It's not a story with a huge climax, like action sequence wise.
Yeah.
It's more of a kind of reads more like a poem, kind of, well, it's a nice short story.
Yeah. It's beautiful. So big. Golly, but so small.
All right. Time has come. Do you want to hear the rumor, the Star Wars rumor?
Yes.
Okay.
This is a really big deal for me. Normally, I don't like knowing spoilers to movies because I like being open-minded. But
I'm hoping this is wrong. But
okay.
So there was a leak, supposedly, and somebody on Reddit released this. So this is about Star Wars Episode VIII. If you don't want to know anything about Star Wars Episode VIII, turn away now, because this will be the last thing we talk about.
Last thing.
So the backstory on Luke and his Jedi. The story is about Luke and the Jedi being wiped out. Is that Snoke seduced Kylo and a few other students, and tasked them with killing everybody. So Luke and a few others survived, including a young Rey, who was dumped on Jakku by Luke. Okay, we kind of already guesstimated, right? That kind of this probably makes sense, and
it made sense to me that Rey was a part of that group of people,
right? Because we see her in her little flashback thing being left somewhere, right?
Yeah, and that whenever Kylo's trying to break into her mind, she breaks into his and says, "You were there," so that leads me to believe that is accurate.
All right, so this is the first part. So Rey's mom died in this attack, right? So now Rey, who's now met up with Luke, is upset with Luke because she guesses that Luke was her father and is angry at him for abandoning her, right? And so that's kind of one thing we've all kind of like who is Rey's parents? If it's Luke, why did Luke just leave her there? Why didn't he take her with her? Why didn't he leave her with somebody that could actually take care of her? So whatever. Now here's where it gets interesting. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So she's angry at Luke because she thinks Luke's her father. Then Luke turns to her and says, "No, you are my father."
Dang.
Okay.
Dang. So that means
they're saying Rey is the incarnation of Anakin Skywalker.
That was my prediction.
So
that's kind of what I've been thinking, because it doesn't make sense for me. It doesn't make sense for her to be the child of anyone else. I don't think Luke would have had a child.
Right.
I'm a firm stander in that I don't think Obi-Wan could have broken the Jedi code and had a daughter. And it seemed to me that the whole virgin birth kind of a thing kind of made sense to me, that she could be
right. Yeah, so Rey, they're saying Rey is the product of a virgin birth, but midichlorians aren't necessarily mentioned, but Luke basically says you are a child of the Force. So basically Luke goes to the Jedi Temple to better understand how the reincarnation process works. He learns all about that. He learned that the spirit of the chosen one is reincarnated by the Force every time the universe is thrown out of balance. So the universe is thrown out of balance at this, at the end of Star Wars trilogy. So apparently, this happens often.
Yeah.
So Anakin might have been a reincarnated something else at some point in time.
Yeah.
And that's why. So this explains why Rey is so powerful with the Force, because she's, reincarnated.
I hope this is right.
So, and then Luke, he's hesitant to train her because, according to Jedi history, the Chosen One always struggles with staying on the light side of the Force because of the chaotic power running through them. He's afraid that she could become Vader 2.0. If he trains her to fight Kylo and she turns dark, she would do way more damage to the galaxy than Kylo could ever dream of doing. So, but in episode 8, he ultimately trains her anyway and leaves everything up to the Force. He makes his decision in a scene where he confers with the ghost of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda. It's already been reported that Frank Oz is coming back as Yoda, and there's been some rumors that Obi-Wan may be making a ghost.
I heard that. I mean, I thought I heard at some point that Ewan had been heavily thought of.
Right, because he did do a voice in episode 7, so
Yeah.
They're keen on using him. So yeah, he would be Ghost Obi-Wan, and Frank Oz would be coming back as Ghost Yoda. So then Rey learns lightsaber skills, Force skills, and has vision of a quest where she has to, go on. And supposedly she sees a dream or something with Hayden Christensen in it as Anakin. That would be interesting. Where he tells her that she is different, that she is him, but different. So it's like, okay, well, if he's around as a ghost, she's reincarnated him. I don't know how that works, but So anyway, and supposedly we'll see many other Force ghosts in this movie.
Awesome.
Star Wars: A Ghost Story. It sounds believable.
I mean, it makes sense.
I mean, Empire Strikes Back, Luke, I am your father.
See, part of me wonders if people just get really upset for paralleling the original trilogy again with that.
Right. Yeah.
Because a lot of people didn't like Force Awakens because they're like, why not just watch A New Hope? And I was like, yeah. Well,
right.
But it's different. But I'm okay. I'm down for this. If that's the way it goes, I think I'd be pleased.
Yeah, it does.
Most of it. Some of it I could do without, but
yeah, it does make sense. So it does explain some things. It kind of diminishes Luke Skywalker's role a bit, because he wasn't really the chosen one.
But I never really have thought of him as the chosen one.
You feel like it was always Anakin.
Yeah. I think like people might have just assumed that he was, like, even like within the universe. But at the same time, because I mean, just him being like the last Jedi and things of that nature, it seems like he would just be the chosen one. But I don't think, due to the fact that since Anakin was, I don't think he could have carried on that as being the chosen, unless Anakin never was the chosen one and Luke was destined to be it. But at the same time, I want Rey to be the chosen one. How awesome would that be to have a female being the chosen Jedi to bring balance to the Force?
So that's the potential spoiler potential plot of Star Wars Episode VIII. But
Let us know what you guys think out
yeah,
there.
yeah. Do you think this is real? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's a bad idea? Leave a comment on geekpool.com or join us on Facebook, Facebook/geekpool.
Yep.
We're also on Twitter now at geekpool. Um, so I had some other things to talk about, but we'll save it for next week. We're running long already.
Yep.
So that's it for this episode. Thanks for joining us as we look at the Killing Joke. And again, all the things we've talked about in this episode, we're going to put on our show notes on geekpool.com, including that teaser for Killing Joke and some of the other news items we discussed earlier. So do you have anything else, Dax?
Well, just real quick on the music side of things.
Oh, yeah. What was I thinking?
Yeah.
What are you listening to?
Last night, this is like the most spontaneous thing that's ever happened in my life. Wednesday, I was looking through the Belmont freshman Facebook page, and someone was like, "Hey, I have a ticket to Alabama Shakes if anyone wants to buy it." And I was like, "I love Alabama Shakes," and they're at the top of my like must-see list of artists right now, and they have been since like freshman year. And so I texted my dad, like jokingly, like knowing he was going to say no. I was like, "Hey, you wouldn't want to send me money to go to this concert?" And he's like, "Do you have ESP?" And I said, "Yeah, I thought I was getting a bad reading." And he's like, "So you can read minds?" And I go, "Yeah." And he says, "What number am I thinking of?" And I said, 4. And he said, "Dang, you can read minds." And then I got a notification that money had been added to my bank account. So I was able to, I messaged a guy. I didn't even have the ticket at this point. It was a sold out show. So I have this money and I'm like, well, shoot. And so I messaged the guy on Facebook and I'm like, "Hey, do you have that ticket? Because I have money for it." And he was like, "Yeah, sure." So I bought the ticket yesterday right before I ate lunch. Did a little switch. And then last night I went to the concert by myself.
Nice.
One of the best. What?
Good concert?
One of the best concerts I think I've been to. To me, they're at the top of like rock and soul, and I mean they have so many different genres within their own genre. They're Southern roots rock, but they've also got some of the alternative stuff as well. And to me, their latest album, Sound and Colors, one of the best albums. It won Best Engineered Album, which I completely agree with. It should have done that, and it's just beautiful. It addresses social issues. The sounds in it are unreal. There's so many sounds and like just ideas presented through the music that you don't really hear a lot of in modern music anymore. And seeing them live was amazing because you captured everything that they have on this album, and you feel it all. And Brittany Howard, the lead singer, she's just this big black woman. Me and her have the same haircut and glasses, actually, which is kind of funny. But I mean, she's just this big woman, and she is powerful. She's got one of the most powerful voices in modern music, I think, right now, because she can get really gritty, but she can also do some really beautiful, like, falsetto stuff too. And she plays the guitar better than most dudes I've ever seen, which there aren't very many good female guitarists. That's not a stereotype. That's just fact. And she's unreal. She's got amazing talent. Seeing them live, some of my dreams came true last night. So it was at an outdoor venue right by a river, and there were had to be 5,000 people there, and it was sold out. First night of their tour. So if they're coming through your city, everyone should go see them. They're definitely worth it. Just great show, great time. They opened it. Rest in peace to Prince, but they opened it with his song.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like all of a sudden, like the lights just flash purple, and then you hear, "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to celebrate this thing called life." And then like everyone is just like cheering and clapping, and it was just a great time. And then the song started up, and it's like jamming, and then they come out, and it was really great.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it was a really, really great moment to be a part of that kind of a thing, because they had actually, I think they played an award show with Prince at some point, or they've performed one of their songs with him, and so they dedicated one of them to him, and it was just really cool, in memoriam kind of a thing to him. But the rest of the concert was also fantastic as well. Just a good time. So that's kind of where I'm at musically right now.
Cool.
Yeah.
I've been listening to a lot of older stuff recently, like Billy Joel.
Ooh.
So I've just
I've been listening to, been bumping some Michael Jackson a lot lately too.
Yeah, we had Michael Jackson playing here earlier today. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yesterday I was playing it before one of my finals so that I would get pumped to take one. And then last night I was listening to it too. If you haven't heard Michael Jackson's version of Come Together, you got to hear it, because it's a great take on the classic Beatles song. So for everyone out there. So that's kind of all.
Cool.
I think that wraps this week up.
All right. Well, join us next week, and we'll be talking about more stuff. I would like to talk about, my plan is to see Justice League versus Teen Titans before next week.
And then we can talk about that.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah. So everyone watch Justice League versus Teen Titans.
Yep. We'll kind of give it a rundown next week, and talk about some other stuff and other news. Little labyrinth news that I didn't get to this week, but we'll talk about it next time. So.
All right.
Well, I'm Jonathan Matlock.
I'm Dax Matlock.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.